Hey everyone! So today I want to talk to you about the subject of the feeling of not having time. That's a feeling that I and a lot of other people have a lot. And I noticed this when I did my live video on Instagram about a month back, because I talked about the subject and I talked about how I'm slowly overcoming that feeling. And some people messaged me afterwards or commented that they knew that feeling and struggled with it as well. So I want to talk about why we feel like we don't have time even though we do. I will offer my advice and I will offer what worked for me at least. I don't want it to be confused with actually not having time, because you don't have your priorities straight. Sometimes it is just a matter of prioritizing differently to carve out that time you need. And that would be about time management, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the illusion that we have in our minds that we don't have time. My theory is that a lot of the time we mix up the concept of time with the concept of the energy that we spend doing something. I will talk about this later more. So just to give an example, when I'm meeting a friend at 4 p.m. and it's 11 a.m. right now, and I tell myself I don't have time to do whatever it is that I have to do or want to do. I tell myself I don't have time to wash the dishes or I don't have time to film a video, because essentially the energy that I spend on that, I feel like takes away from meeting my friend. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. So another example would be you wake up at 6 a.m. and you have a doctor's appointment at 12, which means you have 6 hours to get ready, to do anything you need to do, and you still get stressed. You think you don't have time before this doctor's appointment. It's dominating your whole day. And this is a form of anxiety that can vary in its severity, obviously. Or even a small time slot, like it's 9 p.m., I have to go to bed at 10 p.m., but I tell myself I don't have time to read a book right now. I just sort of do nothing or watch a YouTube video or, waste time that I feel bad about afterwards. Time is a very strange construct, and I feel like for me, it is very related to energy. If I feel like I am using my time in a productive way, I feel energetic. If I feel like I'm wasting my time, I feel like I don't have any energy. And if there's an appointment coming up that I know will take a lot of my energy, I sort of see it as if it was taking up my time, even though it's not even happening yet, if that makes sense. So to me, this very much relates to not having the space in my mind to focus on something if something else is in the queue, taking up my whole mind space, Now, the first step for me to overcoming this feeling was to become aware of the mechanisms of avoidance that I have. When I tell myself I don't have time, what do I actually spend my time with? For example, I walk around the house, I watch videos, and catching myself in that process is very helpful, because then I can start logically thinking, why can I watch a 20-minute YouTube video before I go to bed instead of spending 20 minutes reading a book? And when I started this logic, I very quickly uncovered what the underlying fear was that made me think I didn't have time to do the things that I really wanted to do. So first of all, figure out your strategies and the logic behind those strategies, however distorted it is, that stops you from being productive and from doing the things you want to do, whether that's a productive thing or a fun thing. Now let's talk about the fear I just mentioned. For me, my feeling of not having time is very related to my need to do everything very meticulously, very detail-oriented and almost perfectionistic a lot of the time. Which means that, for example, I wouldn't allow myself to dive into reading a book or shooting a video or preparing a video if I don't feel like I could give it my all, because I want to remember everything, I want to keep everything in my mind, deliver the best performance that I can give. And if I read a book, remember as much as possible, maybe even quotes, maybe new words that I'm learning, new concepts that I'm learning. And this obsession over wanting to always draw the most out of these things, out of reading, writing, performing in front of a camera, or any sort of work that I do, that leads to me not doing them. And I know that this is a very common thing that people struggle with, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Because the truth is that I don't have confidence in myself when I tell myself that I can't sit down right now and read a book to my own satisfaction. When I sit down and when I think to myself, I don't have the energy to shoot a video that is good enough to put up, or I don't have the time to go out into nature and meditate because I feel like I'd be stressed out or I couldn't give it my all, I might be distracted during meditation. And realizing that that is okay, that all of that is okay, was the key for me to get over this feeling. So this feeling of being afraid to get either so enveloped by something that I forget everything else, or not get enveloped enough, or that I have to tear myself out of it because of some chores that I have to do, all of that is very related. And I try to avoid all of it by telling myself I don't have time. And the way I try to overcome this is by telling myself that every second I read a book or every second that I record a video is worth it. It doesn't work as well for video recording because that actually takes some time, but take reading a book or playing a certain video game that I've been meaning to play forever, or any activity like that. You always draw something from it. Even if you just read for 5 minutes, you don't have to get to the end of the chapter. That's what I always tell myself. It's like, I can't just read one page. What's the point? I have to get to the end of the chapter. But that's not true. Even reading one page can inspire you and can allow you to take a thought with you throughout the day, for example, or throughout the night if you read at night. And it works within you and it gives your mind something to feed on rather than to feel empty because you didn't do it and you didn't read that book. Just know that you are always learning, especially when it comes to reading books. This is a huge issue for me. I feel like I need to remember everything. I need to learn everything, get every concept in the book. And I forget that sometimes it's just about getting inspired and letting the words work within you throughout the day. Spend the time that you have, even if it's just 5 minutes or if it's 4 hours, plan it out if you want to, and spend that time meditating or reading or shooting a video or writing a page for a book that you're writing, or just doing the work that you want to do, or having the fun that you want to have, honestly. So remember that you always grow unnoticeably. It's not always about keeping everything in, retaining everything you learned, or every experience that you made. It always works unnoticeably within you, even if it's just 5 minutes of reading. This was especially a very big topic for me last month, and that's why in my current journal, that is almost full now, I wrote in the beginning, even if you can't hold on to it, think this thought, read this book, make that art piece, enjoy that moment, learn that concept. It's worth it. It expands you unnoticeably, in secret, in the depths of you. And this was for me a constant reminder to use any moment that I have, and not to push myself into productivity and optimizing my life in every second that I have, But for me, I even struggle with doing fun things, as I said, because I feel like I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I don't have a deep enough pond to draw from, you know? And getting over that feeling was a process of honoring the moments and their meaning, even if their meaning isn't clear to me immediately. So that is my message to you. Use the time you have in whatever way you see fit. And if you catch yourself thinking you don't have time for something, ask yourself, is that true? And what mechanisms are working within you? Why don't you want to have time for something if you factually have 4 hours, 3 hours, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for whatever you want to do? And in the end, you will have a fuller experience of life and a fuller feeling of having used your time in the way you wanted to, because you're in control, not the feeling of not being good enough that's telling you that you'd rather waste your time than delve into a new topic or delve into an experience. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you all next time.